All right. Now, I mean, we're talking about overalls, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
If at the start of the season I said Elvira Oiberg's going to wear the yellow bib, I think a lot of biathlon fans would say, finally, because she's actually never worn the yellow bib. Finally, she wore the yellow bib. But what if
Mm-hmm.
I told you after the first weekend it would not be Johannes Tingesbo, and in fact, it would not be a Norwegian wearing the yellow bib, but in fact, it would be Eric Perrault from France. Man, what does that? What does that mean?
I would have not believed you at all if you told me that, you know, 2 weeks ago. But to see one of the younger athletes right there at the top, um, you always like to see it. And we talked about last episode of if the Norwegian dominance would end. I'm gonna say it's definitely not where it was last year. They're definitely still up there. It's pretty polarizing at the top with Norway and France, but to see Perot wear the yellow bib is going to be so much fun to watch. I think he definitely got some help from poor shooting this week. I think his ski speed was down or is down so far from last year. His shooting has been, I'm assuming, much above average for the men's field. But it's awesome to see a young athlete at the top and bringing a challenge to the rest of the Norwegians.
Yeah, and it is really interesting what you just mentioned there because when we look at his stats here, last year 84 about 85% shooting is good. You want to maybe see if we can get that up to like 87. That would be great. But this weekend he was 94, which definitely definitely helps the cause. But this is the crazy thing here is his skiing is down from last year actually. And even if we sort by trimester, here's the first trimester. He was skiing super fast at the championships, but even in the other trimesters, he was up, except for I guess trimester two. He was actually a little slower than he was this last weekend. But in general, skiing slower this year than he did last year, and then able to have his second win of his career after Soldier Hollow last year, um, and yeah, just win. He's winning at the right time, and he's gonna start with the yellow bib in Hawkfieldson, which is kind of crazy. But even more than Eric Perrault, which is even crazier, I think, is France is back. The French men came to play. They went 1-2 in the mass start with Quentin Fillon and following up Perrault, and then Emilien Jacquelin wins the sprint. So the French guys, they've been getting, I feel like they've been getting a lot of crap for the last couple of years because their coaches quit calling them prima donnas basically. Like Jacqueline has the ability, everyone says Jacqueline has the outright talent to beat Johannes Tingesbo, but he's just so erratic that he can't consistently do it. Phil Maillet has been getting a lot of crap since he was the overall winner and then just absolutely tanked in the overall standings. What like is France real? Is France real? Are they going to come and they're going to challenge Norway this year? I mean, they even won the relay. They beat Norway in the
Mm-hmm.
relay, which Norway men's team hasn't lost a relay in forever. Honestly, their B team probably could have uh, done very competitive. Their IBU Cup team probably could have done very competitive in the relay. That's how deep they are. And France just shows up and beats them for the first time in a long time. Is France real or are they frauds?
I think they're real. Based on this weekend, they were shooting lights out. Watching Fionn Maillet on the range was like I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to ever miss a target. Watching him in the relays, when I saw that Jacqueline was going last, I was pretty nervous based on his previous relay performances. But I mean the mixed relay maybe didn't go so great, but the men's relay, he didn't blow it. He had the opportunity to do some penalty laps, cost his team the win, but he crushed it this weekend. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. I was super impressed. He was probably one of the athletes I was most surprised by this week. If Fionn Maillet, Jacqueline, and Perot keep performing at the level they are now, or even if that performance level decreases, I think they're going to be just fine. They're super deep this year. They have Fabian Claude in 15th, Gigonot in 18th. I think they have the depth and the talent. They've always had the depth and the talent, but now putting it into actual race results and performances has kind of been the struggle, especially consistently. But if this is a season that they can do that going into an Olympic year next year, that sounds pretty awesome to me.
Yeah, and I mean, Jacqueline, or I guess the men's relay team does not get enough credit for what they did there with no misses up until Jacqueline's standing, which is, you kind of saw the little smirk on his face when he had those misses because he knew that he sort of ruined something that would have been really special. I mean, winning the race in general is special, but going absolutely clean with no spares would have been immaculate. Um, but the crazy thing is, and as I'm kind of looking at these results a little bit more in depth right now, they actually only had one more spare round than Norway and beat Norway by 25 seconds. So my guess is their shooting, or I'm sorry, their skiing was actually also very competitive. If I can pull it up real quick, here's what I want: total course time. Yeah, I mean, seems a little, this data seems a little funky here, but it looks like as a team they outskied Norway by 23 seconds, which is insane. We talked about in our season opener podcast, we talked about whether or not maybe Norway might not be as dominant this year because what if they had an advantage in the waxing? And last year they invested, a ton of money in the new system with fluoro-free stuff like that, and they just had this advantage last year where it took some other nations a little bit more time to catch up. I'm wondering if we're seeing that a little bit because just across the board, men and women, like Norway did not seem like they had um, the impressive ski speed that they had last year. At least from my opinion, I think that's the real advantage that they had because they could afford themselves a miss here or there. Like if Johannes Bö went 0-1 or 1-0 in a sprint, you still kind of had him on the podium. Same with Christensen, Dale, maybe not Lagerud. He kind of went down a little bit in ski speed last year, but um, it seemed like when Norway they basically they could shoot 90% and still be in the fight for the podium, any of those athletes. Whereas this year, yes, like you mentioned, some of their shooting was pretty bad, but this year the I don't know, it just seemed like they didn't have it, and I don't know, it didn't help with poor shooting as well in some of these races. Obviously, Stronsheim did great in the individual and got his medal. Good for him. But I mean, Bo was just like two misses in prone in the sprint was terrible. And like if you're 7 wins away from being the most having the most wins in biathlon history, you can't be getting two misses in sprints and not even coming up competitive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clicking through each of the Norwegians, every single one of their ski speeds is down this year so far. Does that mean, like you were talking about, how the advantage they had on the ski prep isn't there, or did they miss the training, or are they, some teams kind of peak way earlier in the season? Like, are the French doing that now, and the Norwegians are kind of working up towards world champs? We won't know till we get to the end of the season, but
Right.
if their ski speed does not improve, I'm a little concerned. They might not even go 1-2 in the overall. Like, Johannes could very well finish off the podium of the overall if he doesn't, kind of get his act together a little bit.
Yeah, let me see here. Real quick. Here are the skiing leaders for the season so far. Sebastian Samuelsson has been the fastest. Jeremy Finello, I mean, this dude, he keeps popping up in the top three, but just cannot find the target to save his life. But actually, kind of surprising, Jasper Nalin fourth, and Bo is up there in third. But okay, last year, let's go back to last year. Four of the top five Norwegian, four of the top five. Now this year, looks like we have three in the top 10, and then Dale just got sent down to the IBU Cup because of how the whole Norwegian system works. He's last for Norwegians in the overall ranking, so he's going down to the IBU Cup, and Martin Uldal is coming up now. So really, you have two in the top 10. I guess that would move Laggard up. So still three in the top 10 for ski speed. But look at all these French guys up here: Cloud, Filmae, Jacqueline, and Perot's not even on here. There's Pro, 21st ski rank, and he's our yellow bib guy. So yeah, just kind of interesting. Where it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, look at Sweden too. Neline's up there. Stephenson. Who's this guy? I hadn't even heard of this guy. Where's Ponsaloma? 13. So this is going to be interesting to see as the season plays out. If maybe things kind of come back to the average, or resort back to the mean. But just kind of interesting to look at that data there, because yeah, last year it just seemed, like I said, it seemed like Norway had the advantage on the skis, and now that is definitely not the advantage based on this weekend.